to invite His Excellency Mr. Ilham Aliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, to deliver his welcoming remarks.
Distinguished Secretary General of the United Nations, distinguished heads of state and government, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to Azerbaijan. Many of our guests are visiting Azerbaijan for the first time, so I hope that they will have a chance to get acquainted with our country, its history, traditions and culture. I would like to thank Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, and the Secretariat of UNFCCC for their support to Azerbaijan on the path to COP29. I congratulate my dear brother, President of UAE, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and all his team with landmark UAE consensus achieved at COP28 in Dubai and their support in preparation to COP29 in Baku. Last December, by unanimous decision of almost 200 countries, Azerbaijan was honored to host COP29. We consider this decision as a sign of respect to our country, as well as appreciation of our active role on international arena. Azerbaijan is a country where East and West, North and South meet, and this is not only about geography. We can build political, cultural, energy, trade, transportation bridges between different international actors. Mega projects initiated by Azerbaijan already changed the energy and transportation maps of Eurasia and led to establishment of fruitful multinational cooperation formats. Despite 30 years long occupation by Armenia of almost 20% of internationally recognized territories of Azerbaijan, despite ethnic cleansing and deportation of 1 million Azerbaijanis from their ancestral lands, we managed to build a strong country with self-sufficient economy and independent policy. 4 years ago, we celebrated the historical victory in the Second Karabakh War. A year ago, we fully restored our sovereignty in accordance with UN Charter, international law, UN Security Council resolutions, which remained on paper for 30 years. We implemented these resolutions ourselves, restored international law, justice, and put an end to Armenian occupation. As the President of COP29, Azerbaijan will do its best to find common understanding between developed and developing countries, between Global South and Global North. For 4 years, by unanimous decision of 120 countries, Azerbaijan successfully chaired the non-aligned movement, the second after United Nations International Institution. Azerbaijan is also an active member of Organization of Islamic Cooperation, which unites almost 60 countries. With 10 members of the European Union, Azerbaijan signed agreements and adopted declarations on strategic partnership. So all this allows us to think that we may be very helpful and useful in building bridges between different important actors on the issue of climate change. Azerbaijan is an active supporter of multilateralism. At the same time, we play an active role in intercultural dialogue. Together with United Nations Alliance of Civilizations, every second year we organize in Baku Intercultural Dialogue Forum. Multiculturalism is our state policy and at the same time is our lifestyle. People of Azerbaijan, regardless of their ethnic or religious identity, live in peace and harmony as one family. Now I would like to say a couple of words about Azerbaijan's green agenda. Our technical potential for renewable energy is estimated at 135 gigawatt onshore and 157 gigawatt offshore. Last year, Masdar from UAE inaugurated the biggest in our region solar power plant of 230 megawatts. Aqua Power from Saudi Arabia is now at the moment constructing wind power station of potential of 240 megawatts. During COP29, agreement will be signed with BP from UK to build 240 megawatts solar power station in the district of Jabrail, which was liberated from Armenian occupation 4 years ago. And this project will provide decarbonization of one of the biggest oil and gas terminals in the world, the Sangachal terminal. By 2030, we plan to build solar, wind, and hydro power stations of approximately 6 gigawatts. But this is not all our plans. 10 gigawatts renewable energy projects, contracts and MOUs have been signed. And also we look at the export markets and work actively with our partners in order to implement another important energy security project, the Black Sea Caspian energy cable. This will allow us to export green energy to Europe, and the technical potential of this cable, and by the way, feasibility study is going to be ready very soon, is close to 4 gigawatt. But again, this is only the beginning. Our green agenda also covers different regions of Azerbaijan. So Nakhchivan, Karabakh, and Eastern Zangezur regions of Azerbaijan are declared as green energy zones, and this is about a quarter of our territory. Now, a couple of words I'd like to say about another segment of energy security, which is oil and gas. I understand that this topic is not very popular at climate change conference, but without that, my comments would not be complete. Just to begin with information, the world's first industrial oil well was drilled in Azerbaijan, in Baku, in 1846. It is situated not far from this place. Maybe it will take 10-15 minutes drive. The first offshore oil well also was drilled by Azerbaijani oilmen in the Caspian Sea in the middle of 20th century. In 19th century, Azerbaijan produced more than a half of global oil production. And if then some Western politicians and media called us a petrostate, probably that would have been acceptable. But when they call us petrostate now, today, this is not fair, and it only demonstrates a lack of political culture and knowledge. Today, Azerbaijan's share in global oil production is 0.7. In global gas production is 0.9%. But fake news media of the country, which is #1 oil and gas producer in the world and produces 30 times more oil than Azerbaijan, call us petrostate. They'd better look at themselves, or at least at their neighbor, which produces 10 times more oil than Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan's share in global gas emissions is only 0.1%. I have to bring these figures to the attention of our audience because right after Azerbaijan was elected as a host country of COP29, we became a target of coordinated, well-orchestrated campaign of slander and blackmail. Western fake news media and so-called independent NGOs and some politicians, as if we're competing in spreading disinformation and false information about our country. To accuse us that we have oil is the same like to accuse us that we have more than 250 sunny days a year in Baku. Countries should be judged by other criteria. For instance, level of unemployment in Azerbaijan, it is 5.4%. Level of poverty, it is 5.2%. Our green agenda, I already described our plans. How countries manage their foreign debt. In Azerbaijan, it's only 7.5% of our GDP. So these are, and many other, important criteria which should be a basis for kind of evaluation of the country's performance, but not the country's natural resources, which are the gift of the God. I said it several months ago, and now all those who want, international media, to attack me, just quote me that I said that this is a gift of the God, and I want to repeat it today here at this audience. It's a gift of the God. Every natural resource, whether it's oil, gas, wind, sun, gold, silver, copper, all that are natural resources. And countries should not be blamed for having them and should not be blamed for bringing these resources to the market because the market needs them. The people need them. So this is my message, and as a president of COP29, of course, we will be a strong advocate for green transition, and we're doing it, but at the same time, we must be realistic. Also, another point of accusation is that 2 years ago, Azerbaijan and European Commission signed declaration on strategic partnership in the field of energy. But it was not our idea. It was a proposal of European Commission. The President of European Commission came to Baku 2 years ago to sign this document with us because they needed our gas due to the change geopolitical situation. And they asked us to help. And we said, okay, we always are ready to help if our help is needed. And we said, okay, we will help Europe with energy security. And when we signed this declaration 2 years ago, the number of the countries which were receiving our gas, European countries, was equal to 2. So now it's 8 countries. 8 out of 10 countries which have access to Azerbaijani gas are Europeans. And European Commission also asked us to double gas supply to Europe by 2027, and this is reflected in the declaration which was signed by President of European Commission and myself 2 years ago in Baku. Unfortunately, double standards, a habit to lecture other countries, and political hypocrisy became kind of modus operandi for some politicians, state-controlled NGOs, and fake news media in some Western countries. And my last message is to those who for almost 1 year were advocating for boycott. They used all the tools in their possession to launch a campaign to boycott COP29 in Baku. And I have bad news for them. We have 72,000 registered participants from 196 countries. Among them, 80 presidents, vice presidents, and prime ministers. So the world gathered in Baku, and we say to the world, welcome to Azerbaijan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is an equally distinct honor to welcome His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, to address this distinguished gathering.
President Aliyev, I thank you, the COP President Mukhtar Babayev, and the government of Azerbaijan for your welcome and hospitality. The Presidents can count on our full cooperation in your efforts to achieve the successful COP we all need. Excellencies and friends, the sound you hear is the ticking clock. We are in the final countdown to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and time is not on our side. Exhibit A 2024, with the hottest day on record and the hottest months on record, this is almost certain to be the hottest year on record. And the masterclass in climate destruction. Families running for their lives before the next hurricane strikes. Biodiversity destroyed in sweltering seas. Workers and pilgrims collapsing in insufferable heat. Floods tearing through communities and tearing down infrastructure. Children going to bed hungry as droughts ravage crops. And all these disasters and more are being supercharged by human-made climate change. And no country is spared. In our global economy, supply chain shocks raise costs everywhere. Decimated harvests push up food prices everywhere. Destroyed homes increase insurance premiums everywhere. And this is a story of avoidable injustice. The rich cause the problem, the poor pay the highest price. Oxfam finds the richest billionaires emit more carbon in an hour and a half than the average person does in a lifetime. Now, unless emissions plummet and adaptation soars, every economy will face far greater fury. But there is every reason to hope. Excellencies, at COP28, all you agreed to move away from fossil fuels, to accelerate net zero energy systems, setting milestones to get there, to boost climate adaptation, and to align the next round of economy-wide national climate action plans, or NDCs, with 1.5 degree limit. It's time to deliver. Humanity is behind you. A poll by the University of Oxford and the United Nations Development Programme finds that 80% of people around the world want more climate action. Scientists, activists, and young people are demanding change. They must be heard, not silenced. And the economic imperative is clearer and more compelling. With every renewables rollout, every innovation, and every price drop. Last year, and for the first time, the amount invested in grids and renewables overtook the amount spent on fossil fuels. And almost everywhere, solar and wind are the cheapest source of new electricity. So doubling down on fossil fuels is absurd. The clean energy revolution is here. No group, no business, and no government can stop it. But you can and must ensure it is fair and fast enough to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And I urge you to focus on three priorities. First, emergency emissions reductions. To limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius, we must cut global emissions 9% every year. By 2030, they must be down 43% on 2019 levels. Unfortunately, they are still growing at the present moment. Now, at this COP, you must agree to rules for fair, effective carbon markets that support that fight. Yesterday, you made an important first step. You must build on it by agreeing rules for markets that respect the rights of local communities and leave no space for greenwashing or land grabbing. By next COP, you must deliver new economy-wide national climate action plans. And you have agreed that your new plans will align with 1.5 degrees. That means they must cover all emissions and the whole economy. Advance global goals to triple renewables capacity, double energy efficiency, and halt deforestation by 2030. To slash global fossil fuel production and consumption 30% by the same date. And to align national energy transition strategies and sustainable development priorities with climate action to attract the needed investment. All these must be achieved in line with the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities in the light of different national circumstances. But all countries must do their part, and the G20 must lead. They are the largest emitters with the greatest capacities and responsibilities. They must bring their technological know-how together with developed countries supporting emerging economies. And every nation must have the tools and resources for climate action. And the United Nations is ready to support that effort every step on the way. We are supporting developing countries with new NDCs through the Climate Promise Initiative, and striving for justice in the renewables revolution through our panel on critical energy transition minerals. But ultimately, only you can deliver on national ambition and action. Only you can beat the clock on 1.5 degrees. Excellencies, second, you must do more to protect your people from the ravages of the climate crisis. The most vulnerable are being abandoned to climate extremes. The gap between adaptation needs and finance could reach up to $359 billion a year by 2030. And these missing dollars are not abstractions on a balance sheet. They are lives taken, harvests lost, and development denied. Now more than ever, finance promises must be kept, and developed countries must race the clock to double adaptation finance to at least $40 billion a year by 2025. Adaptation investments can transform economies, driving progress across the Sustainable Development Goals. We need countries' new climate action plans to set out adaptation financing needs. And we need every person on Earth to be protected by an alert system by 2027, in line with our early warnings for all initiatives. And we need climate justice, particularly a surge in pledges to the new loss and damage funds and commitments turning into cash with finance pouring into the fund's coffers. But we also need a fundamental step change across the board. And so, Excellencies, the third priority is finance. Developing countries eager to act are facing many obstacles: scant public finance, raging cost of capital, crashing climate disasters, and debt servicing that soaks up funds. The result? Adaptation denied and a tale of two transitions. Last year, developing and emerging markets outside China received just 15 cents per every dollar invested in clean energy globally. COP29 must tear down the walls of climate finance. Developing countries must not leave Baku empty-handed. A deal is a must, and I'm confident it will be reached. We need a new finance goal that meets the moment. And 5 elements are critical to success. First, a significant increase in concessional public finance. Second, a clear indication of how public finance will mobilize the trillions of dollars developing countries need. Third, tapping innovative sources, particularly levies on shipping, aviation, and fossil fuel extraction, based on the principle that polluters must pay. And fourth, a framework for greater accessibility, transparency, and accountability, giving developing countries confidence that the money will materialize. First, boosting lending capacity for bigger and bolder multilateral development banks. And I hope some good news will come. That requires a major recapitalization and requires reforms of their business models, including so that they can leverage far more private finance. The resources available may seem insufficient, but they can be multiplied with a meaningful change in how the multilateral system works. Big sums require big change. The COP29 outcome must build on the Pact for the Future, agreed by consensus in New York in September, and drive progress. And I urge the major MDB shareholders to use their position to push for change. There is no time to lose. On climate finance, the world must pay up, or humanity will pay the price. Excellencies, in this crucial period, you and your governments must be guided by a clear truth. Climate finance is not charity, it's an investment. Climate action is not optional, it's an imperative. Both are indispensable to a livable world for all humanity and a prosperous future for every nation on Earth. The clock is ticking. I count on you, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. It is a pleasure to invite Ms. Maimouna Mohd Sharif, Mayor of Kuala Lumpur and former Executive Director of the United Nations Human Settlements Program, to the podium to share her remarks.
His Excellency, Mr. Ilham Aliyev, President of the Republic of Azerbaijan. His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations. His Excellency, Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, COP29 President, Excellencies, Head of State, Heads of Government, Heads of the delegations to the 29th Conference of Parties of COP29, Ambassadors, Mayors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam Malaysia Madani. And good afternoon to all of you. It is a great honor for me to address all of you from the front lines of the climate crisis, speaking for all the major local governments network, the four mayors and community leaders, and as a woman leaders from the grassroots community, and also as a grandmother myself, I'm very grateful for the opportunity given by COP and given by the President to convey the voices of the common people. Due to the climate change and the extreme weather events, all our life, especially those of us from the vulnerable communities, have now become a daily struggle. Yet I can say that with absolute confidence that the people we serve are looking to all of you to continue to deliver on their hopes for a better future. As a former Under-Secretary General and Executive Director of UN Habitat, I welcome and congratulate the COP29 presidency for the collaborative and far-sighted manner, forming a partnership with Dubai and Belém that ensures continuity in the deliberation and decision taken at each COP. I also thank the COP29 presidency for the continued commitment to host the ministerial meeting on urbanization and climate change that was introduced at Sharm el-Sheikh during COP27 and was expanded to strengthen multi-level climate action in Dubai at COP28. Distinguished delegates, having returned to my country in February this year and having been appointed as the First Lady Mayor of Kuala Lumpur, the capital city of Malaysia, I can testify to the reality that the challenges of the climate change is very real. From the longest heat wave ever recorded in my region to the biggest storm in living memory, Kuala Lumpur, like many cities all over the world, is facing ever greater challenges on a daily basis. The only way cities like Kuala Lumpur and developing world can continue to contribute to the climate goals is to have a consistent annual funding to enable us to preserve urban green spaces and conserve our forested areas as carbon sinks. If we keep innovating to ensure our cities are walkable and invest more in public transport, we can further reduce carbon emission and over-reliance on motor vehicles. To adapt to extreme climate events, I also advocate for more nature-based solutions, including expanding the smart city concept and making urban centers into biodiversity hubs and create biodiverse cities. Different spelling, S-I-T-I-E-S instead of S-I-T-Y. By 2040, there will be an estimated 1.3 billion tons of plastic polluting the air, water, and food we eat. In fact, each of us now have microplastics in our bloodstream, vital organs, and as for this year, even in babies, in pregnant women. Despite these challenges, I consider ourselves among the luckiest cities and communities living in the region of the world that is relatively peaceful. Mr. President, I thank you for the courage that you have demonstrated in hosting COP29 in Baku, which can only happen because you have managed to convince your fellow leaders to give peace a chance. For without peace, there can be no sustainable development, just as without sustainable development, we cannot win the peace. I thank you for Azerbaijan's contribution to the sustainable urbanization as you rebuild your cities, guided by the new urban agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. As you know, the Azari poet Nizami Ganjavi, in his wisdom and his poetic expression, said that, quote unquote, in the hour of adversity, be not without hope, for crystal rain falls from the black clouds. In adversity, we can find opportunities. Let us dig deep in ourselves to find the will to give peace a chance, to make peace with nature, and to make peace with ourselves. I humbly call upon all member states to strengthen multilateralism and strengthen the hand of multilateral organizations like the United Nations to ensure that we leave COP29 with more concrete actions, timelines, funding to save the planets of today's and future generations. Without collaboration and cooperation, without a whole of society approach, we cannot hope to survive into the next century. The Loss and Damage Fund and this COP29 is finance COP and enabling COP. Let us make sure that the available funds reaches the most needed. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to thank the Nazami Kanjavi International Center for giving me a platform to continue flipping the script on urbanization. I'm very pleased to belong to the COP29 International Advisory Committee organized by the NGIC as a platform for the like-minded eminent leaders and scholars to share their experiences and innovative ideas with the COP29 presidency. I'm glad to say that it is also a gender parity platform, and we will continue to share our recommendation to ensure there is follow-up action during the 12th NGIC Global Baku Forum next year. As we begin our 2-week celebration, let me also urge all member states and all key stakeholders present here today, particularly the business sector, to work collaboratively and find ways to make immediate serious action so that we can have this planet a better place than when we inherited it. More importantly, we need to do it now. And as the Malaysian Minister of Environment said at COP16, planet, profit, and then planet, people, and then profit. Mr. President, distinguished delegates, once again, I thank you for this opportunity to sound the clarion call for stronger multi-level climate action. I have always said enough declaration. We want declared action with implementation. Let us take heed of the word Nizami Ganjavi again, speaking to us from the century past, that in our darkest hour, let solution rain down on us to allow us to find the will to live up to the commitments we have made to heal the planet for future generations. Together, let us give planet, people, peace and peace a chance. Together, we should and can fulfill the pact of the future. To all the head of states and to all leaders, please stop all wars, as no sustainable development without peace and no peace without sustainable development. And let us aspire to inspire before we expire. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sharif. Ladies and gentlemen, NASA astronauts Sunny Williams and Nick Hague from the International Space Station shared a video message of gratitude for the COP29 event with special recognition of Azerbaijan's efforts.
Greetings from the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Sunny Williams, along with my NASA crewmate Nick Hague.
When we look down on the Earth from 260 miles above, it's clear how interconnected we all are. We orbit the Earth every 90 minutes and can see how our planet is changing, from increased extreme weather, glaciers, and increased wildfires. Through instruments on the space station and our fleet of Earth-observing satellites, NASA and our partners are observing our planet and the effects of climate change and making our data free to the world.
Our missions help gather information about rising seas, greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, global surface temperatures, the warming ocean, deforestation, and plant and animal life in a way that you can only see from space. It is vitally important that the world accelerates its efforts to address the climate crisis in this critical decade. On behalf of our international crew, thank you to Azerbaijan and everyone in COP29 for your efforts to protect the beauty, wonder, and diversity of our home planet.
Esteemed guests, we are now delighted to begin the cultural program.
sesidir aşık esan. Sordum ki gönül hardadır aldın bu cevabı. Hiç sorma tapılmaz onu aklasa da insan. Rehm eyle dedim gel. Rehm eyle dedim sen kimi göz yaşını tökdü. Gel kalbine oynama ey afeti devran. İnsafın eğer var, insafın eğer var ise söyle bu nizami senle şereftar eylesin ey mehitaba. Senle nece reftar eylesin ey mehitaba. Sevgili canan. senin o cerbeler veslinand içtiminan. Senin o cerbeler veslinand içtiminan. Hicrine yandı canım, yoktu takat sensin.
məhbub mənim. Vətənimdir, vətənimdir, vətənim. Vətən sevməyən insan olmaz. Vətəni sevməyən insan olmaz. Olsa o şəxsdə vicdan olmayaz. Ay, dadı be, dada yaman ey. Sən məni sən mənim köksümdə çarpan ürəksən. Mən sənin köksündə kiçik bir zərrə. Mənə qanad verəyən, mənə qanad verən o düdləksən. Adına, özünə vətən deyirəm. Çölünə, düzünə vətən deyirəm. Ay, dadı be, dada yaman ey. Aman aman, ay aman aman, yar. Aman aman, aman.
Çon uzun hörmezler, gülü gonca vermediler sarı gelin. Bu sevdana sevdadır, seni bana vermediler sarı gelin.
දික්වී නම්හි ස්වභාවය අනුවම දිගටි ස්වරූපයෙන් යුත් දික්